People, welcome back to the Aussie Great Community page. Welcome back to our podcast series. We have Declan Moody. Declan's in town. He's been kind enough to do a podcast with us. How are you?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me. Sorry I was late.
No, it's all good. It's all good. How's it been back in Australia?
It's nice, you know. Obviously, I'm not from Sydney, but
yeah,
it's nice to be home. Nice to have the familiar accent, you know.
Yeah. What's it like? What's Sydney like compared to Adelaide? I've never been to Adelaide.
Just busy, you know. It's super busy. There's people everywhere. Adelaide's much chiller, much more relaxed, quieter.
Quieter, very quiet. Now, keying things off, for people who may not know you, what is Declan Moody outside of the Jiu-Jitsu scene like? What is Declan when he's not training?
There's not a lot really anymore. Just hanging out, you know, very relaxed, chill. I like to go travel. I like to see some cool places. That's it, really. Me and the lady going on an adventure, go hang out with the boys. Nothing too crazy these days.
Nothing too crazy now. There's no Declan partying until
retired.
Retired partying.
That was like a mythical creature back in the day.
Mythical Declan just running around Adelaide partying.
Any tournament afterwards was a menace, man. It sounds funny, but yeah, a lot of hangovers and a lot of apology messages.
I think one of the funniest stories I heard was when you and Austin were talking about it when you were at a wedding and you lifted Winston.
Me and Harry Milazzo. Yeah, overhead pressing.
I literally messaged Winston. I was like, you know, you're famous. He's like, what? I was like, Declan just mentioned you. He's like, yes. Yeah, when Harry lifted me over his head.
Yeah, that was a big wedding. Shout out Lamb. Lamb he's a student of mine and a member of Garage, and like I've known Lamb since I was a kid. He got married and all the Garage guys came over and we ran amok at his wedding.
You said you like traveling. Where's the coolest place you reckon you've traveled to?
Japan's still my favorite. Like I did a lot of time there, like over a year, probably like 10, 11 trips. That's still my favorite place. Just the culture is so sick.
Yeah. Will we ever see Declan just move to Japan quietly?
Well,
after the competition's done, we just see you disappear into like the Japanese mountains.
I mean, I definitely like I moved there part-time already, so
yeah.
I don't know if I would do it now. I don't know if I could convince the lady, but if it was just me, maybe.
Convince Caris. Like,
yeah.
Hey, Caris, I've got a great idea. Let's do Artemis in Japan.
In Japan, that would actually be sick. I've got a few contacts. I wonder if we can make that happen. Especially, there's a big Japanese women's jiu-jitsu scene people don't really know about. But if you look historically, especially the trials, the Japanese women have always been successful, especially the lighter weight class.
Yeah. Even this year, I think.
Yeah, and Rikiko, she was exceptional. She won everything at like rooster weight.
What first got you into jiu-jitsu? You went from you have a very similar path. We both went from being scooter kids
to
jiu-jitsu. How did you end up being a scooter kid into jiu-jitsu?
I think just watching the UFC and like wanting to do something like that, but I didn't really want to do the striking part.
Yeah.
Just looking for jiu-jitsu schools, and fortunately, a guy, Gustavo Bomba, who runs BTT now up in Queensland, he was in Adelaide for a few years, and he opened up sort of not the first jiu-jitsu school, but he was the first Brazilian black belt we had, or black belt in general in Adelaide. So went and trained with him, and that's how it all started.
I mean, you ended up from there.
Trained around a few schools in Adelaide because places would close down.
Open,
you know. And then ended up training in Japan, like I said, quite a lot. Ended up getting, while I was under those guys, I believe my purple, brown, and black, sort of under that lineage there at Bonsai Jiu-Jitsu. And then when my time ended up there, by the time I come back, I basically was at M16 from there.
M16 from there? I got to meet Miles at you, so he's a funny dude.
He's the man.
He's a character. Now, for you this year, ADCC, what's your training looking like for that?
I mean, I've been training hard all year, of course. I had a couple of events this year. It's a little bit quieter, as ADCC years tend to be.
Yeah.
But the training at B-Team was basically just building the base, and now I went and trained in Shanghai with Joseph for a month. Then I've come back here for just under a month to train, pretty much specifically to come train with Lucas. Just because I think those two have such good encyclopedic knowledge of jiu-jitsu, but such different perspectives. So my goal was to come and basically take all of their information and try and better myself and make myself more well-rounded by having different sources of information.
Yeah, sick. What's it like in Shanghai? Because I never like, you look at like Jiu-Jitsu China, never in my head like correlates, but I think we were talking the other day and you're like, the Jiu-Jitsu scene in China is actually pretty like...
Yeah, it's pretty extensive. I mean, just by population it has to be, really.
Yeah.
You know, like maybe by percentage of their population it's not massive, but like the gym's packed every day. Joseph's built such a fantastic environment in that gym that I foresee a lot of good people coming out of that school. I mean, there are already some guys that are good that have been training in China that we don't know about because they tend to stay in China, but there's definitely some really exceptional talents in there.
Yeah, it's kind of sick. I was like, when Joseph opened in China, I was like, China's interesting. And then like when you look into it more, it's like, okay, there's actually like a big scene over there.
Yeah, they do a lot of like ADCC opens and things.
Yeah, they do a lot. I know a few guys compete at them quite regularly. I think I realized China had a big jiu-jitsu scene because of Robert Eagle. Seeing him go over and compete heaps, you know, in those tournaments. How are you feeling going into ADCC?
Yeah, this is the best I've ever felt, like technically, physically, mentally, very clear. You know, I think I have a very good shot at winning this one.
Yeah.
Like, I believe that I am going to win it, like, within myself, you know.
Yeah, I think like. And how do you prepare for these big comps? Like, how do you deal with the nerves and like? Because I think for me personally, for the longest time, like, I got really nervous competing. Yeah. And then over time, it slowly starts to fade. How do you?
That's it. I've competed so much. I must have had close to 1,000 matches. I don't know if that's the number, but it would be close. A lot. So it's like. I've lost so many times that it really doesn't matter anymore, you know. I've won a lot and I've had some really good wins, but I've also lost on like a lot of the biggest stages that I've lost at ADCC. I lost against Felipe Pena, who's a legend of the sport. You know, I've had these big opportunities where I have failed, you know, but I realize that even after doing that, I just get better afterwards. So it's like there's no like. Yes, it sucks and you're going to be sad that you did lose a match, but overall you're actually just improving.
And then when you say like you lose a match, are you one of those people who's kind of like, fuck it, it's happened now, you move on? Or you like look at it for a bit and then you're like, okay.
I mean, it depends how you mean, like look at it. Like, I obviously look at what went wrong and these sort of things, and I study what went wrong and try and improve off of it, but I don't let it I don't dwell on it so much anymore. I'm much better at moving past losses. I definitely think like when I was younger it was much harder, but I think just experience over time.
Yeah. Is there a loss to you that like sort of stands out that you're like, okay, that was like a turning point where you're like, right, I know what I need to do now, or you kind of just like this, no, like?
I had a few losses, maybe like 2 years ago. Was it 1 or 2 years ago? Where I came off the ADCC loss. I lost to Nico and Pena and Abdullah pretty back to back.
Yeah.
Like I think it was like 4 weekends, 3 matches, and I lost. And then I took a little bit of time to reset, and then I did an open in Austin, and I lost a couple matches there too. And I was like, this shouldn't be happening. I just made some really big changes with who I started working with Jeremy Skinner. I started working with Todd at Atomic Athlete.
Yeah.
Just to fix issues that I'd had technically with Skinner, and sort of like physical issues where I wasn't fit enough and I wasn't like prepared. I was lifting and I was always like strong, but there's no point in being strong if that strength fatigues you over time.
Yeah. So that's actually an interesting question. What does a general training week look like for you?
For me, right now, I'm in the gym, like Jiu-Jitsu gym, 5 times a week. 6 times a week. Varying intensities depending on where I'm at in the ADCC cycle, where I'm at in the week, where my body's at in terms of like fatigue. So we have high intensity days, lower intensity days, this sort of thing. And then my strength and conditioning it's 5 days a week of like cardio stuff. And like 3 to 4 lift.
Are you someone? I think you said you only train once. You do train once a day, or you train twice a day?
Generally, will be one like training, and then if I go back, it'll be more like drilling and technical precision stuff.
So you're not one of those like, people who's like, I'm going to push myself for 2 sessions a day, and you just like get heaps burnt out. You just find it's not actually.
I just don't think it's as viable. Like you can do it if you have more rest days.
Yes.
But
okay. Yeah.
I tend to just try and manage intensity across my days more so than have full rest days.
Yeah. So instead of like, you're still getting the same number of sessions in, same number of quality sessions in, but it's like 1 a day instead of like 3 days of like killing yourself. And I think as well with people who do that, you see them like their careers don't last as long, right? You can only do that for so long.
I think it comes with age too, because I was doing that for a very long time. Like I started training when I was like 13, and then sort of really took it seriously 16, 17, 18, and from there to like 22, 23, it was just like go as many times as I can, as hard as I can. But there'd be times where just for days I just couldn't get anything working properly just because I was so fatigued and I didn't understand why. But I think as you sort of mature in the sport and just as a person, you can start to just understand your body a little bit more.
What was it like for you guys? Just brought up an idea, because I know coaching now, right? You say you started at 13. The amount of kids I get that start at that age, was it hard for you to keep training through sort of those like 13 to like 18, which is where I find like the biggest drop off? Was that like hard for you to keep training?
Definitely points, especially for the time period I started, there was no other kids that age that trained with me. Fortunately for me, like a year and a half, maybe 2 years, I'm not sure, a very good friend of mine, still a great friend of mine to this day, Warner Coleman, he joined, and then I actually had someone else to train with that was my age and like had the time that I had because of school and these sort of things. But before that, I'm just training with men, and like when someone train with a kid that age, they don't try very hard and you don't get anything out of it, and then other people try too hard and you don't get anything out of that. So there's definitely times where it was very difficult to sort of find that balance of good training.
And then through that period, was there ever a point where you were like, right, I don't want to keep training? Or were you always sort of like, this is like my passion?
I definitely always had a passion for it, but there were definitely times, and definitely when I've been in rooms where I didn't enjoy it, and that's when I started to like, I'd always train, but it just became easy to have a day off here, a day off there, you know. But fortunately, I made some good decisions where I would change room when it got like that. If there was any issues that I had in the room that just weren't addressed, then I could just move on and learn from someone else. And I think that's sort of frowned upon sometimes. But I think if you're ever in an environment that's negative to you, you take yourself out of there, even if it feels like you belong to someone. It's a sport at the end of the day. You should be wherever's most comfortable for you and where you enjoy the most, because that's where you're going to get the most out of it.
Yeah. And then at what point in those years was it like, you were like, okay, I can make a career out of this? Was it sort of young, or was it like older than that, like 13 to 18 or?
I mean, career is interesting because it didn't really exist for a long time. You know? The path was always, you train and you compete as much as possible so that you have a name to open a school.
Yeah.
You know? And that sort of blueprint has always existed. It still exists now. But when I was around 18, I was having some good success. 19, I got my purple belt at 18, I think. End of being 18, early 19. Struggled a little bit at purple belt for a while, and then found success there. I think brown belt at 20, and that's when I started to win a lot. I won like, my first tournament was the Nationals, and I won all 4 gold medals, like absolute gi, no gi. And then I did it again the following year, and I did it again at the Pan Pacifics. And that's when people really started to take notice, and I started to get more opportunities. And then super fights started happening, and super fight shows started coming up, so I started getting paid a little bit. And then from there it expanded, black belt, more opportunities, and then Subversion was a big one here in Australia for opportunities. But even now, you couldn't make a living just doing super fights in Australia.
Yes.
Like it's just not at that level quite yet. So that's when I moved away to the US, and out there's so many more opportunities. And although I still had to teach and do all these things to sort of like fund at least I could make more of a living off the super fights sort of circuit.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I see what you mean. Like,
It was a pretty long-winded way.
No. It was like, it's good, right? It's like, because I think for me, as I've started like a similar age, I started like 13, and back then, if I look back at myself now, being like me 21 and coaching, I'd be like, there's no way that like that's gonna be a thing. And it's even more for you, right? It's so much longer ago. And I think I spoke to another Adelaide man, Nick Batman Hughes, we were doing a commentary gig. The same question sort of came up, and he was like, when I came up, like there was nothing. There was no like, probably like one gym in Adelaide back then.
Yeah, there was SABJJ. I came in after that, and that was the only place. And then it started to expand a little bit. When I was coming up, there was really 3 big gyms: ISO Health, Aruda, and SABJJ were the 3 major players. And then they obviously, as people come up, the offshoots start to form. And now there's got quite an extensive number of gyms in Adelaide.
Constantly growing next year.
But the best one is to come.
And you sort of just touched on it there. At what point were you like, okay, it's a pretty big gamble, right? Being a kid from Adelaide's a smaller city, being like, all right, I'm going to pick up my life. I'm going to move to the US and I'm going to chase this dream. Like, it's a pretty big, and I think there's, like, I had this conversation with someone, right? Here you move to uni, you're like, all right, I'm going to move to Adelaide for uni. It's like, okay, it's a 2-hour flight, 3-hour, whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's not like massive at all, like shit hits the fan.
Yeah.
For you to pick up your life in Adelaide and be like, all right, I'm going to America and I'm going to make this happen. What was that like process, and like, what was that like for you?
I think we have to take it back a little bit, just so that people have a little bit more perspective. When I was 8 years old, my family did the same thing. They saw opportunities out in Australia, because I was born in the UK.
I forget that, yes.
And then they came out here to give me a better life, you know? So I think having seen what they did was one of the major factors that made me feel like it was okay to do the same, take these risks, and try and better my life. Even if it goes wrong, I'll just pick up the pieces and make it work, you know? I'd also done the move previous to Japan, although Japan was much more temporary and I was always coming back. So that sort of had that sort of safety net, but it gave me like a little precursor to what I was going to do in the future, even though I didn't know the US was going to happen. And then if it hadn't have been for Craig inviting me out to train, and Seth Belisle, who was the owner of B-Team, giving me the opportunity when I first went out there, he basically said, if you want a job here, we'll get you out here. Yeah. So if I didn't have him, it probably wouldn't have happened.
So you didn't have them believing in you?
Them, and Miles Simpson was a big pusher of that too. He was like, it's time. I'd sort of done everything. I'd won everything in Australia. Obviously I had some losses, but I basically won everything I wanted to win. And Miles was like, all right, it's time. Go to the US. And then he supported that move. He supported me the whole time I was out there too, if I ever needed anything. He was super helpful in doing that. So it did. Although it's hard, you know, you leave friends, family, everyone behind. They were all so supportive that it wasn't difficult.
Yeah, like everyone wanted you to. Everyone sort of understood. It wasn't like you were just moving for like shits and gigs. You were like, this is.
It wasn't like I was just leaving everyone for leaving everyone.
Yeah, you're like, this is where my career needs me to go.
Yeah, it was trying to better my life and eventually my family's life and these sort of things, you know.
And actually, it's funny you talk about this. Your dad is always at every comp, right?
He's been.
Because I remember being backstage at Subversion.
Yeah.
And it was actually funny. I was just like cleaning the mats, and your dad like came over and introduced himself. He's like, "Oh, hi, nice to meet you."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Dude, this is sick." Like my dad's very similar. He travels me wherever I go. I did a grappling shows on the weekend. He's like, "Oh, I can't make it." I was like, "Dude, it's fine."
Yeah.
But what is it like for you having your dad constantly around and like?
It's so special, you know. So few people get that. But me and my dad have such a great relationship, and he's such a driving factor, you know. Of like, he's always been a guy who probably believed in me more than I believed in myself.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I'd lose his big matches and he's like, you can win this, you know, you can do this. He didn't come out to the trials I lost in Sydney, but he did come out when I won in Singapore, the first trials I won. And like, just having him there was so good. It was so funny. We're driving there the day of the tournament, and the Tiger comes on the radio and he just turns around and goes, "You're fucking winning, eh?" I was like, "I'm fucking winning."
It's funny, like I hear so many stories. I was saying this is White Mods podcast, and that's the thing I listen to. Like you and Austin telling stories about your dad. He just seems like the most Aussie bloke
Well,
in the
he's
world.
English, so it's like, if you've ever watched Peaky Blinders, it's sort of like that. I'd like to say less intense, but maybe equally. So he's a definite character, you know. My whole family's full of characters. My mom's a character too. So I think when people meet him, they're very sweet, very like the best.
Yeah.
But man, they're funny people. So
Just to mention that, like winning the trials in Singapore. Was Singapore the first trial you won?
that's the first one I won. Yeah.
What was that feeling like? Obviously having your dad there, and like you've sort of just achieved this dream that you've set out to achieve. What was the moment you win that? What was that like? And it's probably one of those things you can't describe.
It almost is indescribable, but like it's almost like a weight, you know. I was like, I had this lofty goal. Well, it felt lofty, you know. And then I really thought I was going to win the one in Sydney. Like, I was doing so well in the lead up to that, and then looking back, just there was things that I didn't do that I should have done. That I know better now. But to be there in Singapore and have that happen, and then like I turn around and Miles is there, Junior, my dad Joseph's losing his mind because Joe's just like, oh, we get to hang out in Vegas now. Like he's like jumping up and down clapping, Miles is clapping, and then just getting to walk off and give my old man a hug was pretty special.
Well, do you reckon there'll be a better moment in your life?
Yeah, when I win ADCC this year and my old man's there.
Is your dad traveling to ADCC with you?
Yeah, he's gonna. Both my parents are gonna come. My lady's coming. Good little groups coming again.
It's gonna be cool. That ADCC you lost in Sydney, that was to...
I lost to Ben Hodge.
Yes. It's funny, so I actually got a memory. That was like, I think it was would have been like 4 years ago the other day. There's like a funny photo of me and Craig and Adam, and I was like, oh, I remember that. I think that was the first time I saw you sort of break out, and everyone was like, oh, this Declan kid's like pretty like good. The funny thing for me is, what weight did you do then? You were doing like...
I did 88 that year, but the previous trials I did 77 in Tokyo.
Yeah.
But I wasn't training no-gi at all. That it would just happen to be I lived in Japan and the trials were in Tokyo. I was like, this will be sick. Because I was actually in my gi worlds camp.
Yeah.
But I made it much further in the trials than I did in the gi worlds that year.
What point did you transition from the gi to no-gi? What point were you like, right, no more gi?
It was sort of two things, really. I came out here and I trained with Lucas and stuff in the gi, and I was like, fuck, I'm falling behind.
Yeah.
Like, these guys are so advanced in the gi that it's going to be very hard for me to keep up. And then that happened, and then during COVID, I was still training the gi a little bit, but all the opportunities started to become no gi. And it becomes very hard to train and keep up in both gi and no gi when one opportunity is paying me so much more money and giving me so much more opportunity.
Yeah.
So the gi sort of just fell by the wayside.
Will we ever see another Declan game run, do you reckon?
I was speaking about this with a friend of mine in North Carolina who runs the bonsai school out there, and I think I was talking about this with Joe as well. I'd like to win the Asian Open in the gi and then have one run at Worlds in the gi. Just because at the Asian Open I've got every other medal.
But the Asian Open one.
And I had this open weight run where I beat like every weight class gold medalist and then lost the final. And I was like, sick.
Sick, alright. I'm just going to come back and do it now.
Yeah.
That actually pretty funny. You just go from like, you win ADCC this year and then you're like, alright, that's it.
I might do it at Masters next year though. You know?
Oh, dude.
Just come back and just
come back.
do Masters. It'd be sick.
We haven't seen Declan in a gi for years. He's got this no gi. Some poor dude's gonna like fly over with his family and so get you first round.
Or the opposite happens and I hit like Lovato in the gi first round. I'm like, sick, this is gonna be a scrap.
Was there a tournament you can look back on now that sort of changed everything for you? Like ADCC is a big one, but outside of ADCC, was the tournament where you were just like, alright, this is some change?
I mean, the trials always, I think, changes people's perspective of you. Like when you win the trials, that sort of means you're on that top level.
Yeah.
I look back, who's number one, the Philippe Costa match.
Yeah.
I think that was like a breakout performance. But I think the who's number one tournament, when I won that,
The absolute. Yeah.
I think that's when people were like, oh, he is good, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's interesting. Because that was, I remember watching that. You had, was it Dante in the final?
Dante in the final, Aitken in the semis, and I had Mike from Pittsburgh.
He was the one that won.
He won the trials.
And he was like, I want Declan first round.
Yeah. Okay. But he's actually boys with my boy Doug Schmidt, so we just fucking talking shit about Doug the whole time, so it was good. And as soon as he grabbed me, I was like, man, this guy might be the strongest guy in this division. He was so good.
So you won Who's Next Openweight. You also competed at CGI.
Yeah.
UFC BJJ.
Yeah.
Out of those three, what was like the event you're like, this is sick?
ADCC has so much prestige, you know?
Yeah.
UFC is cool because there is nothing that can rival the professionalism because they have it down to a science from running so many events. So it's hard to pick between them. I couldn't really do so. Like, and CGI is so sick because of the spectacle, you know? It's probably the best for like viewership, you know? So it's hard to pick. I think they all have like pros and cons.
Yeah.
You know?
What was that like call from Craig being like, right, I'm gonna run this tournament when he was talking to CGI? What did you think then? You were like, this guy's crazy. You've obviously known Craig for a few years. The first CGI? Yeah.
I'd sort of heard rumbles about it. Craig wasn't so much in the gym at that point. He'd already sort of left, on his travels and things. So I sort of honestly found out about it more along the same times as everyone else, you know?
Yeah. Was it for you like a cool experience competing at CGI, being a part of like something that will probably go down as like a massive...
What was cooler for me was to be part of this team that had like, for me was like Kenta and Lucas were already such good friends.
Yeah.
And we're on this big stage representing our whole region, you know, and we had a very good shot at winning it. And it was cool to be there with these guys that I really like appreciate and have helped me a lot in my life. And like just go out there and just really try and showcase how good we are. I didn't know Bilal as well, and I didn't know Fabricio as well, but obviously getting to spend time with those guys was cool too. And you know, boys now after it's hard not to be after an experience like that.
I'm getting back to it. So CGI, cool experience. What is it like for you meeting these guys and like making friends in the scene? So like Bilal, you said you don't know him very well. We could see you guys fight each other this year at ADCC.
He's plus.
Oh no, he's plus.
Skinny,
he's plus. He is plus. In my head, it doesn't make sense that Bilal's plus because it's like I know that he's a -99 guy. But what is it like being friends with people and then you have like ADCC friends? It's a massive thing, right?
Yeah.
You could come up against someone who you're good friends with.
Yeah.
How do you do
99, I mean, Nico would be my closest friend in 99. I actually cornered Nico against Marigali, you know, so he's a guy I really, really like. Well, we fought before, sometimes it just happens. Ethan was probably the worst one, like in terms of like how good of friendship we had, and then we had to fight at CGI, which sucked, but when you throw that much money behind it, you know.
No one's friends with
that much money. A gentleman's agreement that I will try and hurt you for 50 grand, Ethan, you know.
So like, okay, interesting. Coming up against Ethan, coming back to that, what is it like being over in America, being with all these B team boys, seeing everyone succeed? B team now Simple Man, obviously Damien's just made his debut in the UFC. What's it like sort of going there and seeing it from the start to where it is now?
Yeah, interesting. I won't say I was there at the start. I was there at the earlier side of B team, but definitely there was people there before me that are definitely more like ingrained in that B team sort of structure. But it was super cool because I got to see sort of Nicky Rod really reach at the point where he was the best competitor in the world, you know.
Yeah.
He was the best jiu-jitsu athlete in the world for like maybe still is. You know, I think sometimes you get a little warped view. He had that one match with Elder that sort of skews people's opinion, but then look how well he came back from that, you know. So getting to see a guy at that level and get to see his mentality and sort of take from that, and then you've got Nicky Rod, who unfortunately his body sort of gave out on him a few times to sort of hinder his career, but he's still so young. People don't realize he's like 24. He's still got time, you know. And to get like technical advice from him, and then Ethan's had such a good career as well. So it's really cool to see those guys and learn from those guys, and then have those guys give you opinions and thoughts on how to improve, especially like not necessarily always technically, but like their thoughts on like competition and how they approach things and how they approach getting better. This is like amazing. And the one for me is Joseph, you know?
Yeah.
I met Joseph when he was 17. He came out here for the trials, and then we ended up living together in the US on and off a few times. And I sort of watched him sort of grow up from like, he's always been extremely mature, so it was never like he was a kid, but he was a kid.
Yeah.
And now, in my opinion, he's the best grappler in the world, technically, and maybe performative too. Like, I don't think anyone's quite put a beating on me like that kid has.
Yeah. That's interesting. I was about to ask you, what is it like when you walk into, like, say the BK, for instance? Nicky Rod is like one of them. Arguably, I personally think was the best grappler in the world, still is. What's it like when you walk in a room and Nick's like, I'm competing soon, we're going to do hard rounds? What is doing a hard round with Nick Rod feel like?
I mean, for me, it was, you know, it was okay. I could sort of, like, even if I'm getting bashed, I can contain it a little bit. But I've seen guys come in, and if you're over 200 pounds, so like 90-something kilos, he just sort of licks his lips, and he's like, this is going to be a bad day for that guy. You know? He's just eyeing them as they walk in. And I can see it coming. I'm like, that guy's going to have a bad day, because Nick's going to ask him to do at least 3 rounds. So, yeah, I take a lot out of training with him, where it's like, this is as high an intensity as the sport can get, you know? There's no one who's going to come at you harder than Nick. Like, in the room, the amount of times I've been cold-tied and rocked, and like, he shot into my nose, he broke my nose, broke my hands, things like this, where it's like, and not in, like, he's actually a much safer round now than when they first went there, but like, just when we're going and it's comp time, it's on, you know? Like, he does a lot of visualization. He'll be in the corner doing his breathing exercises, come out, and he's going to enter exactly how he's going to enter for the tournament. So when he ran out and double-legged that guy at UFC, I felt that
You were getting that all camp.
2 weeks before, you know? So I knew what was coming. So yeah, just to have that, where you have a guy where it's like, it's on. We're going at each other for, Nick and I would do a lot of simulation, so whatever he had or I had, we would set a timer exactly like that, and we would do that exact match, how it would play out.
How you guys want to do it. So it's interesting actually. Visualization, is that a big part of, you obviously said Nick Rod is like, you'll see him and he's visualizing everything. Are you a big visualizer, or are you kind of just like...
He is much better at it than I am, like night and day. I do a lot, like, I'm not going to be in the room being like, okay, I'm in the arena. Yeah. People do this, and that's fantastic if it works for them. But I do it more where I'm like, okay, I'm feeling a little shitty. It's comp day. I might feel shitty. I've got to get through this. You know? And that sort of. So it's like, I break it down a little bit more specifically, whereas he's in that arena when he's fighting.
What is it like? I think there's this old subversion thing, and you said like you took a lot from Nicky Rod.
Yes.
What's like and it's actually funny. One of the best bits of jiu-jitsu advice people ask me that I've been given is secondhandly from Nicky Rod, and it was like, just think about how cool this is that we get to do this, and like, don't take this shit for granted, sort of thing. Like, it's a cool lifestyle you get to live. That like, you get to travel the world, compete, and all that. Is there like something massive that you've taken from him outside of that? Like, what is?
That's exactly the one that I always say. So if you watch me on multiple podcasts, I probably say the same stories. You know?
Yeah.
But when he said to me, it was at EBI, and he's like, "How you feeling?" I'm like, "Oh, you know, no, I'm a little nervous." He's like, "Why?" And I was like, "Well, I'm just about to compete." It's like, just be grateful. He's like, if you take all that nervous energy and you're just grateful that you get to do these amazing things, what have you got to be nervous about? You know, and that stuck with me quite a lot.
Yeah, and then. Joseph, what's the biggest thing you learned from Joseph? Because it's for you, right? Joseph's younger than you.
Yes.
And for some people, it might be weird, like, oh, Declan's learning from like a dude who's younger than you. But like, in this sport, it's not the case.
No. Like I said, Joseph's like so technically intelligent, and what I take from him, like obviously techniques, like he can give me simple techniques, but the way he explains jiu-jitsu changed my perspective on how things work. Like, it's very hard to describe without a sort of maybe like a good understanding of jiu-jitsu, but like his ability to describe why he does certain things is so underrated, because a lot of times we get given techniques where it's like you do A, B, and C.
Yeah.
But he will give you why he does A, B, and C, and then that will play into not only the position we're doing now, but 10 other different positions.
Yeah.
So instead of improving one skill, you improve 10 different skills.
Yeah. So he sort of like breaks it down a lot more. So like not dumbs it down, but like he's not just like, right, I do this.
Kidell was very good at like this sort of thing, but he would call it like conceptual learning. Like he would learn in concepts and then apply that concept to many positions, you know, that sort of thing.
Do you think we see Joseph have an absolute breakout year? I mean, he's well known already, but do you think like is he about to hit a peak and everyone's going to be like, oh shit?
I would just be so. It would be a shock if he lost to anyone at ADCC.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. I remember like talking to some of the guys who did trials, and they were just like, dude, he is so good.
Yeah. Like it's like it's incomparable in my head that he's the best guy I've ever trained with. Like, and it's like not a small margin.
Now, take it back a little bit. You keep mentioning it, your lady, Caris.
Yes.
How did that all come about? You sort of met Caris, and was she doing?
If I tell the story how I tell it, and it goes out on the internet, she might leave me because she doesn't like my telling of the story. But I was on a trip home back to Adelaide from the US, and we met, and then we started talking, and then I was like, this girl's pretty cool. She's not an idiot, you know.
Yeah.
And luckily for me, she's one of the most understanding and driven human beings that I've ever seen. It's like pretty inspirational for me to see how hard she works. And then it's also such a hard thing to ask someone to be like, hey, can I just continue to live on the other side of the world?
Yeah.
And we just tried our best to make this work, you know. So to meet someone who's like willing to do that it's very rare, and to like support as much as she does. And I try and do the same, obviously, but it's definitely a selfish thing on my end, right? Like for the past few years being away, so it'd be nice to be home.
How did like meeting someone like that change your life in a way? Because it's like it's a big part of your life, right? Caris is a big part.
Huge. It's definitely like I just don't have any stresses, you know. She just is like it's so nice to have someone who will support me through anything, win, loss. If I don't feel like training, she'll be like, well, probably should. So, you know, everything is just positive, and she's just a very positive person, and to have that impact is huge because not everyone is like that. And I had negative influences before that have like taken away from training and my mental and things like this, and to have someone so positive just makes you so much better. Like not only better at jiu-jitsu, because like that's great, that's like it's great to have this goal of being like the best. For me, I want to be the best light heavyweight in the world. That's the goal. But my goal is also now to be such a better person, where it's like it sounds cliche, but it's like I have this person giving me so much positivity. How can I not try and improve?
For those that don't know, Caris is doing a pretty cool thing as well. With Artemis, when she came to you with that idea, because I'm sure you guys already spoke about, like George was like, all right, I'm doing a women's comp. What was that for like you? For her to take such a big leap and see someone who you obviously love and like you're in a relationship with her, to take a massive leap and do something that no one's really doing. What was that like for you on the outside looking in?
So the big inspiration for Artemis was actually Ali Wolski, who was she's probably the most famous female competitor from B Team Simple Men, and just an awesome person. She's someone who flies under the radar, and like how important she is to that gym, and also helped us with the podcast and things like this. Just like a very giving person. So go follow Ali Wolski. Just give her all the love, because she is like one of the things that keeps that place afloat for sure. And
when you've got that many jiu-jitsu guys, you need someone.
Kept us afloat as well. And she ran such a successful event of her own. And she had a women's tournament when Caris was visiting me one time, and it was fantastic. And the final was Anna Mayadorma and Taylor Highshaw. These girls had won all the way, I believe it was an absolute tournament. And they just had these wars. It was so crazy. And then Anna and Taylor had a 5x5 25-minute battle in the final, and it was insane. And I think Caris took that away and was like, why are we not running things like this in Australia? And like I said, she's just so driven that she's not going to just sit there and bitch about why isn't this happening. She's like, I'll just do it.
Yeah.
And then she started in Adelaide and then came to Sydney and then went back to Adelaide and it was even bigger, and now it's in Melbourne, and it's cool now because all these girls want to be part of it because it's such a great environment to be in. I've only managed to be at one because I've been away. But man, I don't know if were you there?
No, we weren't there, but one of the girls, Sky, who trains with us, she did it.
The room was
and I remember
electric.
Carl said, who runs this gym, he was like, dude, I've never been like a part of an event like that. And everyone I speak to says it's about Artemis, right?
It was
like a sick event, and it was just like, everyone was like, holy shit. And even like Raf from 411 was like dealing with Caris from like the back end of stuff. He's like, I've never had someone so like meticulously run everything. He's like, she's got this sorted, this sorted, this sorted. Yeah, and it's kind of like when you look at a comp, right? You'll know it. We've been around the scene. So many comps are run so poorly.
Yeah,
so poorly, right? For someone to do that, it's pretty cool. But no, like it was from what I've heard, that Sydney event was sick.
Man, I refereed most of the matches that day.
Yeah,
and I remember finishing up, and we went and like had dinner, and I was like, I'm tired because that was just exciting the whole time.
Yeah.
Like I was on edge the whole time. So when it finished, I was like. And I was like, I just need to go to bed. It was electric. It was so good. And like to see all the work she puts in and to have an event so successful, it just like it feels deserved. You know?
For those of you who haven't seen, go check out Artemis. Their next event is
in Melbourne.
In Melbourne, September 5th, I believe. I've got to talk to Caris about the event actually, just in front of me. But no, sick event.
Yeah.
For you also said you're moving back to Australia. What's that going to be like? Are we going to see Declan not retire? I think we had this conversation the other day. Like, I'm not going to retire, but you're going to sort of take a step back. And
even a step back, I think, is probably it's what I say, but I don't think it's the right word. I'm going to take the volume down of competing.
Yes.
My goal over the last years has been to get all this experience and all of these things, because ultimately I want to be a coach and I want to give experience to students.
Yeah.
And not all coaches have to compete.
Yep.
That's true. But selfishly and maybe wrongly, my perspective, when I see coaches that have never competed, I'm like, how do you help someone compete?
Such a great point. I never thought of that. Yeah,
so, and like I said, it's not for everyone. Not everyone has to do it, and there are great coaches who don't compete. But when I eventually have a student that goes to ADCC and asks me, what's that like? I will have an answer.
You'll have an answer.
Goes to the UFC BJJ, what's that like? I'll have an answer.
Yeah.
EBI, I have an answer. Quintet, I have an answer, you know? This experience, although selfishly for me, I want to achieve all these great things, I want to also selflessly be able to give back and be like, this is what happened when I went there, this is what I felt, this is how it went for me. And I can try and give that to a student to then take at least one more pressure off them, you know? That's how I've really started to look at it, is like every experience I have now is something I can give back to someone on the way up.
Yeah. So you're opening a gym, that's a big risk, right? People think like, you open a gym, you just chuck some mats on the floor, sign a few people up, but there's a lot more that goes into it.
Yeah.
At what point were you just like, right, I'm gonna move back to Adelaide, I'm gonna open a gym. Again, massive risk, and like people will probably start to understand on this, you're not afraid to take risks. What's it like opening a gym, taking that risk? And
it's always been the goal, is to open a gym, and like I said, my goal is not it's always been to be a great competitor, but I've also always tried to improve my instruction too. And I think being around guys like Nicky Rod, Joseph, Lucas, I get to see how some really good instructors, and I've done classes with John too. He came and taught, and took a lot from how he taught as well. And so it's like I'm not only learning jiu-jitsu techniques, I'm learning teaching techniques as well, and just trying to learn teaching style. So it's always something I had planned to open, and then this just sort of felt at the right time, where this ADCC was coming up. After that ADCC, it's going to be a European tour for me, and then I'm going to come back, and everything's sort of open for a little while. Like, I don't have anything planned for early next year. So this was the perfect time for me to come back, set up shop, and then start to really build a really good scene for Jiu-Jitsu in Adelaide. And what I've been saying is I want to build something that people want to come to.
Yeah.
People want to visit. I want it to be like almost like a tourist attraction.
Yeah.
Like if anyone comes to Adelaide, I've got to go train there. I want to have a room where it's great training, a great training environment, because I think that's even more important. Like you're not always going to have like world beaters in the gym, but if you have a great environment, people are going to want to come back. So I think that's more important, and that will build world champions. Sort of losing my train of thought here, but
no,
I just want
it's a big question.
I just want to give something to a community that was so good to me, and then build something very special that Adelaide might not have had before.
Yeah. Now I've got an interesting question. It's probably going to throw you.
Yeah.
You open this gym. Would you rather never win another world title, never win ADCC, but have all of your students win it?
Yeah.
Or would you rather win one and none of your students
That's not even a question for me. I'd rather my students win everything.
Okay, so
Not even.
I was like, I didn't know where the question was going. I was thinking about it when you were answering that. I was like, I wonder, like.
Yeah, for me, like even like it's so much. It feels so good when you help someone and they achieve that goal.
Yeah.
Obviously, achieving your own goals is fantastic, but for me, it's not the same as like even like having a kid win the grappling industry. It's like it's so sick, Like, they get all hyped, I got to be in the corner for like Nicky Rod when he beat Mason and these sort of things, and a good one like was a really cool one. Was to be in the corner for Kid versus Shanji. I didn't have any impact on Kid's career at all. I was just there, and he didn't have a corner. But just to be in the corner for that,
that's cool.
I really like Kid, and he's someone I like really aspire to coming up. But just to be there and see him win, you see me jumping up and down in the corner like a kid, man. I'm losing it, So to see other people succeed is really cool.
Yeah. So you're someone who's sort of being an athlete is cool, but also like building someone's career for you is like.
Yeah, because being an athlete is limited,
Yeah.
I've been, let's say, a jiu-jitsu athlete since 13, competed at 14, and now I'm coming up 30. That's already 16 years.
Yeah, it's a long time.
Do I make another 10? Hopefully. Realistically, am I going to be competing at that higher level at 40? If you look at percentages, probably not. So however long I have left, as long as my body's healthy, I'm going to try until the wheels sort of fall off, I don't want to be that guy that just keeps going and losing first round, I think when the time comes, I'll know, and people around me will also let me know. But yeah, that is like such a short goal, because then I can give people their own 20 years of success, and then another 20 years after that, the next generation comes up. So that's the real goal, is to have like this legacy of success that I can pass on.
Now, we've talked for quite a while. Got a few rapid fire questions for you.
Oh dear.
No, don't worry.
Can we cut anything?
They're pretty all above board, don't worry. I'm not going to like throw a spanner in the work and ask you a random question. Your dream match, who is it? Competing, not competing, like they could be retired.
Merigali was the one for sure.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he had to pull out with an injury, which sucks, but maybe it'll happen again, who knows. I would say that, just because I've fought sort of everyone else at the top level at that weight class.
Yeah. Miragali's dream match, we'll touch on that quickly. What was it like when you got the call? You were prepping so much for this Miragali match, your UFC BJJ debut at that point.
Yeah.
What was that like when you get the call and you're like, shit?
It's so disheartening, like the next day in the gym, they're like, hey, we'll try and find you a replacement. And I was like, okay. And then I'm just in the gym, and just the training sucked that day. I just couldn't make it get out of the rut. But yeah, I didn't even know I was going to Vegas until like the day before the weigh-ins or something like that. They're like, oh, we got you someone. And I was like, I'm there. Let's go. So yeah, you just have to know that these things happen. It's fight sports. I've seen it happen a lot to MMA guys. They're coming up. They're finally about to get this great opportunity to fight someone. They've been training for 6, 8, 9 months, and then it falls through. It happens all the time. We're fortunate it doesn't happen quite as often. So you just have to be grateful that the opportunity comes up.
And then, where do you think Australian Jiu-Jitsu will be in 5 years' time? Looking back on it.
5 years' time, Australian Jiu-Jitsu. I think we have potential, particularly, I don't want to say just in the no-gi scene, but at the moment, the trajectory, the no-gi scene, I think we could be the most dominant region within 5 to 10 years.
Within 5 to 10 years?
Yeah.
That's such a okay. What about in the gi? The gi scene's a bit like I think.
I mean, we have great gi competitors. I don't want to put them down. Nico is so close to winning. So Nico is leading the way by like a huge margin. But outside of Nico, we didn't have anyone quite make that same dent in the gi yet.
Yeah.
I think there are definitely guys that can and will. I think if Lucas puts the gi on, he'll have crazy success. And there are guys out there. I'm not as in touch with the gi scene either, which is the other thing. So if I'm saying the wrong thing, I'm sorry, guys. I'm not as aware.
Yeah, that's fine.
So I think that might just need a little bit more time to develop. But the thing is, it just needs one guy. Nico is that one guy who's so close to there. I mean, he's there. He's in the world's final. So people will see that and be like, it's achievable.
Yeah.
And then that inspires the next generation. And then there's 5-10 guys. And then there's 50 guys. And then it just expands exponentially.
That's actually funny. I was like, anyone who knows me in the gym knows it for the longest time. I was like, I actually hate the gi. And it's funny because I came up in the gi. And then I watched Nico's Worlds run. And I remember like coming to train. It was like a gi class. I'm going to jump in. I trained the gi. And I was like, dude, the gi is so bad. I was like, and watching Nico's run, I was like sick. And so like, it's actually cool to see that like people recognize that Nico's doing a massive thing for the gi space.
Yeah, for the country.
For the country, yeah. And I didn't know he was actually. I didn't realize it was actually a fact that he's the first Australian to make the second day of IBJJF Gi Worlds. Black belt.
Really?
Yeah. I could be wrong there, but I'm pretty sure he's
male or both.
I think male.
Okay.
He's the first Australian male because I think Adelaide did it.
Yeah.
And he's the first Australian male to make the second day of black belt Gi Worlds.
Pretty sick.
Pretty sick. Couple more questions, we'll sort of wrap it up. Who are some athletes, Australian athletes, non-Australian athletes, people should be paying more attention to?
Corbin Laporte is going to be the best in the world, in my opinion. There's no doubt in my mind.
He hit a 6-sub over the weekend.
Dude, he hit a 6-sub and then hit the full split. Got up, dropped into a full split. He is so exceptionally good. I can't begin to describe how good that kid's going to be.
Anyone else in Australia you think that you've seen? It's probably a bit hard because you haven't been in the Australian scene for a while.
The other thing, I've been out, so I'm slightly out of touch, I would say, but you look at guys like James Watson, who's now placed multiple times at trials from Adelaide. I'm trying to think younger guys, because the older guys that have been there for a while, obviously everyone knows. There's a couple of young kids at 77 who succeeded very well. Even Kaya is still young.
Yeah.
People don't realise how young Kaya is. He's exceptionally good too. Stoyle is obviously still a young man too. He told me the other day and I was like, oh shit, you got tons of time.
People don't realise Stoyle's like, I think Stoyle's only like a year older than me. I didn't realise for the longest time.
Yeah.
We were talking at training one day and I was like, how old are you? He's like, I'm like 22. And I was like, whoa.
Yeah, so he's got such a long career ahead of him too. Yeah. I don't know how much longer my generation's got yet.
For you, looking back on it now, if you could give young Declan one bit of advice, what would it be?
Just don't be closed-minded. It's very broad, and it can mean many different things to many different people. But just take on information from every opportunity you can. Like, it doesn't have to be you go somewhere to learn from the coach.
Yeah.
Someone in the room. Everyone in the room has skills that you can learn from, be it good like positions or good ways they apply pressure, things like this. If you can take everyone's best thing and apply it to you, you're going to be so well-rounded,
And then, last one, you already touched on it. Outside of what Nicky Rod said, best bit of advice you've been given?
Outside of that, because that is definitely the best bit of advice of competition advice. But I think just to really take joy in everything you do, it's like you've only got a certain amount of time, not only like competing, but in this life. So you might as well do everything that makes you happy and not dwell on the bad things. Just keep moving, try to stay positive, and just try and see the light in every situation.
And I think you touched on the last question of the day. I always ask this one: hardest person you ever trained with?
I mean, hardest is in, I feel like I've been hit by a truck, Nick Rod. Hardest in terms of I can't really do anything to them, Joseph Chen. Yeah.
Well, Declan, thank you so much for coming
No,
out.
thank you, man.
It's really sick. It's actually funny. I was talking to Will about this. Like, I watched your career growing up, and I was like, I sent you the message. I was like, this guy's never going to see it. And you responded. So, thank you so much for taking your time.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Yeah, guys. Actually, what can we expect to see from you in the future? Any shout-outs before you wrap up?
Yes, so in the future, hopefully I hold every light heavyweight and heavyweight title in the sport. I have the best gym in Adelaide that's ever existed, along with the other M16, which is already the best facility. Along with that, my Patreon is going to continue to grow. I offer just general instructional, and I also offer one-to-one coaching on there too. So if people want to improve, that's a good way to just get a different perspective than just the people that see you every day. Aesthetic, if you go follow them, buy some cool things, use my code, get a little discount, continue to build my relationship with those guys. Those guys have been nothing but fantastic with me, so hopefully I can continue to help those guys as much as they help me.
And then guys, if Monster do see this, please sponsor Declan. Please. Anyway, thank you, Declan.
Thank you, man.
Good to have you on. Oh, thank you, sir. That was sick.
Man.